How are you? Hope you're fine. This is the Shy Yeti Show.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Good luck, studio.
Oh, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Oh, there's going to be some drama ahead.
All I wanted was a pie, and then I hatched out of an egg.
Okay, bring the mic over. He's ready to record.
I see your mental condition is improving.
Is it metaphorical? Is it deep? Is it deep?
Boy, he's not all that shy is right.
Blimey, Governor. It's the Shy Life Podcast.
Hello,
Bonjour et bienvenue au podcast The Shy.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Shy Life Podcast with me, Paul the Shy Yeti. How are you doing? I'm alright. So, what's this episode going to be about? Well, we've got a special guest come to talk to us about some TV. Can you guess who it is? Well, I'll let you think about it, and let's run the theme music, and when we come back, I'll reveal all. I'll also tell you who our guest is. Alright, run that theme music.
Darling, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Yes, but it's a positive thing, Paul. The High Life, the Shy Life.
You won't find a cast of characters like this everywhere.
I'll go anywhere for a potato.
Delicious.
Hello, Captors. How are you? You quite like a big bang, don't you?
Go Shy Yeti.
Oh, I hope he hasn't found out my secret. Do you think he has?
I love the Yeti. Yes, it's my favorite thing.
If you thought that was bad, just listen to this.
Yeah, I'm strangely drawn to Yeti Uncle John's ankles as well.
I could eat my body weight in crisps every day.
Has anyone seen my hot sausage?
It's all gooey and meaty and yum, 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 yum.
Oh, I can't wait for it to begin.
It's the Shy Life Podcast.
I like that, yeah.
Look, mommy, I'm famous.
Marvellous, Paul.
Hi there.
So, listeners, did you guess who our special guest is? Yes, have you thought about it? Yes, I'll tell you. It's Uncle Warren. Hi, Uncle Warren. How are you doing?
Hello.
Are you doing? You're doing your Coconut Jim impression there. It's very good.
I am. Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
How are you all, dear listener?
I think they're just having a nap. They'll let you know later. They'll email you with their.
Don't forget to go to his Patreon page and buy some of his goodies.
And Redbubble.
Oh, you got a Redbubble, have you? Or I got cream for that somewhere.
Yeah.
With a new applicator.
I'm pleased to announce that we're not expecting anything too traumatic this episode. We're not expecting too much drama, or we're not expecting anyone to fall down a well. We're not expecting you to get mobbed by fans. We're not expecting.
Well, I'm off then. I'm off. I'm not hanging around for that. It's just not going to happen. That's not what my agent told me. You have an agent? Yes, a postal agent.
Yeah. Well, I did want to ask you a question, and I wasn't expecting you just to talk about TV.
It's only you and me, Paul. Ask away.
See, I have heard that I was talking to Mr. Trowbridge and Mr. Lisa, and I asked them how things were, and they said that you popped around to see them quite recently, and I said, well, that's nice because he's kind of popped round to see me soon too. And anyway, they said that you'd had a little accident at Bosporus. No, they said.
I'm a little flushed now.
Listeners, that's an in-joke, and we're not telling you what it means. They said that you'd had a little accident when eating Chinese food the other day, that you'd had fortune cookies, but you chomped away at your fortune cookie and you'd swallowed the message, so you never found out what your fortune was.
I've got little bits of paper appearing from strange orifices.
Well, that sounds pretty normal for me, but I just wondered, because I looked on Google as to whether, I was a bit concerned. I wondered whether, what sort of inks on the paper, or I looked onto Google.
Yellow.
Well, it said that it said that the only known side effect of swallowing a fortune cookie whole was that sometimes you get a sort of feeling of premonitions. It's almost like you become a fortune cookie. In a way, or you are able to predict things.
My goodness, if I became a fortune cookie, I'd eat myself. I'd have enough food for a month.
That would be. They're very boring, though, aren't they? Fortune cookies.
They are a little bit dry, but I'm moist inside, so it may help.
They're sort of slightly lemony, aren't they? Are they? Or is that just me?
I think that's just you, because the last one I had wasn't lemony. Are you sure you didn't need the little hand wipe with it as well?
Well, no, I did wonder where they'd been storing them, because we did an episode not so long ago where we all, Yeti Uncle John and Cromitty and I, we all opened up our fortune cookies, and then we read our fortunes, and actually the fortunes actually did come to pass. So I'm sort of, I'm beginning to believe that there is more to these fortune cookie thing than I first imagined. But
well, the thing was, I was thinking of looking into the future, because I've had a few weird premonitions in the past about the future, and I thought of getting a reticule. That's balls to you folks. But this negated the fact that I can put my ball in my pocket and take it with me now, because I've had the op, and I can just refer to my cookie.
Well, that's marvellous. Obviously, you're here for a cup of tea and a slice of cake and to talk about some TV, and we'll be moving on to that in a moment. But I did wonder if before we finish today,
coconut,
whether you might see
moist Victoria finger. You are. Sorry, cake. I was just thinking of moist Victorian fingers.
Well, we can arrange that, I'm sure. I was thinking if perhaps towards the end of the show you might like to sort of see whether you can predict anything about the Shy Life podcast for future episodes.
I can predict something. Yeah. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's gone.
Oh, right. Well, I'll give you some time. I'll give you some time, and let's just talk about some TV first. Now, I don't know whether it'll happen or not. Cromitty's downstairs in the laboratory. He's got work to do on the laboratory. So if you hear any noises, any banging,
heck,
it might be Cromitty. But
oh no, you know what happened last time he was banging around in his laboratory? We had the chemical people here. No.
Well, no, it should be okay. It's probably going to be more like the odd beep, or maybe like an alarm going off or something. But I thought we might talk about the year in TV, British TV, 1971. Well, I've got a list of episodes we've covered.
52 years ago. 52 years ago.
I've got a list of the years we've done, so I know we haven't done this one. But, some of these earlier years, as you may remember, nothing happens. So there were some years.
Gosh, it was boring back in those days, wasn't it?
Whereas some years, so much happens that it takes an hour and a half to get halfway through the year. So we'll see what sort of year 1971 is, and if it's a quick one, we might do another year. But
slide another one in surreptitiously.
Yeah, let me get my information.
Information.
It looks like only 2 or 3 things per month, so we might go through it quite quick. So on the 3rd of January 1971, BBC Open University broadcasts begin on BBC Two. So
I was asleep then.
Yeah, I think you were less than 1 year old.
I was less than 1 year old and I was asleep. I think everyone was asleep then, weren't they?
Yeah. So I guess because my memory of Open University is that everybody looked like they were dressed from the early 70s, so they actually probably look modern.
That might have gathered because it was 1971.
Yeah, so
and they were in black and white, weren't they? And had beards, and even the women had beards.
Yeah, so these early episodes, probably looked really modern. It's just that they never moved on from 1971. But
what made me laugh about the Open University was, and this made me think, because they always broadcast these programs at the end of the major transmission day, so they'd be in the early hours of the morning or in the afternoon when most people had a snooze or at work. But so if you're at work and you're doing the Open University on the side, basically you've got to stay up all night.
Yeah.
I mean, you could always tell an Open University student, because they must have packing cases under their eyes, not bags.
I mean, it's not so long ago that Toby...
I don't know why my voice is so high today.
It's not so long ago that Toby, Lisa and I tried our Open University, which... but we've done a couple of episodes of those. We haven't done anything recently, but it doesn't seem to be much of a take-up from aliens, unfortunately. But we'll keep... I'm sure we'll do another one soon.
Is it the fees?
Yeah, I think so. It's difficult working out the currency.
Or is it the canteen food, probably?
The trouble is you need to get an expert. So, if you have a student from Jupiter and they say, we're prepared to pay, I don't know, and they come up with their currency, we don't really know how the exchange rate works. They might be trying to fleece us, but...
You need to get in Professor Holst.
Yeah.
He's an expert on planets.
Well... another thing that happened in January 1971 is that Valerie Barlow was electrocuted by a faulty hairdryer and then perishes in a house fire on Coronation Street.
Oh yeah, and in a house fire as well.
I don't remember the house fire bit. I remember.
No, I remember. Wasn't it badly wired?
Yeah, I remember her getting electrocuted, but I don't know.
She had the bare wires tied to matchsticks, and they were plugged into the socket.
Yeah.
And she pulls it slightly, and of course the full removes the sort of neutral, and she gets the full first. She's like a little bit, sort of stands there, shakes, and that's it. That's the end of it.
And when did the house fire come in? Because she had a fag on the go at the same time. I'm not sure. I mean, I have seen that episode.
Perhaps she spontaneously combusted.
Yeah. Then, of course, she ends up going on lots of other different TV programs and films for over the next 50 years.
And basically, her career took off once she dumped Coronation Street.
She was on it for about 10 years. Listeners who don't know, she was played by an actress called Anne Reid, who's done all sorts of things. She's one of my favourite actresses, I think. But I haven't seen a great deal of her Coronation Street episodes. But she's done a Doctor Who, hasn't she? She's done some Russell T Davies things. Well, at least one of my favourite Russell T Davies things. I can't remember the title of, but it was very good. She's done lots.
It's so good it's wiped itself.
I think we actually, during an episode of Chatterbox, I think we talked about Anne Reid and all the things she'd done. Looking to see, of all the many things she has done, which shows she has been on and which shows she hasn't been on. Sometimes when you look back at somebody's IMDb record, you're sort of surprised. Oh, did they do an episode of that? Or did they do an episode of that? Or you kind of presume, they must have done an episode of Tales of the Unexpected or something. And then,
she was the last Tango in Halifax, wasn't she?
With the Master. No, with the
Master.
Sorry, Cromitty's gone off downstairs now. There we go. I'm finding out about it's Derek Jacobi.
It's him. It's Derek Jacobi.
Yeah. And whilst we're here, I'm going to find out what this thing is with Russell T Davies, which I enjoyed so much and forgotten the name of. It was the one that's all about years and years. It's the one that's all about which kind of has predicted pretty much the last. I think what year was it on? It was on 2019. It's kind of predicted everything from Brexit onwards, and it was really good. She was like the matriarch. I'm going back to 1971, right? So I think.
Oh, she was Wendoline. I didn't realise she was Wendoline.
In what?
In Wallace and Gromit. Close Shave.
Oh, right, yeah. This is the thing. When you start looking, that you think you know most of the things they've done until you realise you only know half of it. Or
she was one of my favourite films, Hot Fuzz.
Yes. Yeah. So in February 1971, after nearly 3 months, the ITV colour strike ends and programmes resume being made in colour.
Now that explains why some of my early 70s ITV stuff's in BMW, because one of the programmes to suffer the most for the whole of the first season was Upstairs Downstairs.
Oh, yes.
Filmed in BMW.
Yes, I've gone the way through Upstairs Downstairs because it was...
I prefer that to Downton Abbey, do you?
Oh, yeah, I've never really bothered. I watched the first season of Downton Abbey and didn't hate it, but didn't like it enough to bother with season 2.
It you know, it's not my cup of tea, other people's, and I don't knock anyone for that, but I just found... perhaps it's just because I like old telly. And I'm not being curmudgeonly. I'm just thinking Upstairs Downstairs, because it had Gordon Jackson in, basically.
Yeah, they filmed the last episode of Upstairs Downstairs in the college that shall not be named where I worked, because they needed I think there was a wedding or something in the last episode, and because it was sort of set in the area where I worked. And
of course, wasn't it? Yes.
I used to walk on the way to Sloane Square or to King's Road to pop to the music shop at lunchtime. So, once a week, I'd sort of sometimes walk past the actual house or the outside of the house that they would use for outside or arrivals on Upstairs Downstairs. So I kind of got to the stage where I think I had a dream about it. I had a dream about it, or I saw a programme about the whole show, and then just thought, I probably ought to watch Upstairs Downstairs. This was about at least 10 years ago, after I'd worked there for quite a while already. But
I had a weird dream last night. Do you want to hear about it?
Yes, please.
It involved Dickie Davies.
Okay. Shall we better set the scene for the listeners who don't know who Dickie Davies is.
Dickie Davies was, if you could imagine, every Saturday between sort of lunchtime and 5 o'clock, there would be a sports programme on commercial television here called World of Sport. And it would show various sports. And there would be this dapper chap with this interesting moustache, wouldn't he? Called Dickie Davies. He was a bit of a character.
He's still alive, actually, so careful what you say.
No, he's not. He's not.
Oh, no, he is just dead. Very
recently. He passed away. He's just dead. Like someone's passed you a bit of paper.
No, but
he's just dead.
The thing is,
he died about 3 months ago.
When I clicked on it, they hadn't. The first thing I clicked on, they hadn't updated that he was. That it hadn't updated. But I got onto Wikipedia, and yes, he's just died quite recently. He was 94.
Yes, very good.
He could still be listening though, so be careful.
Yes, I'll be careful. No, I quite like Dickie Davies, and I liked him in my dream because we were in his villa in the south of France, and how that came into my head, I don't know. But we were in the villa in the south of France, and I was interviewing him about his time on Doctor Who, and he was telling me about how they'd offered him the part when Troughton went, and he was really disappointed because he couldn't make the appointment, and Pertwee got his slot. And then my dream just went on to these bizarre scenes from various Pertwee stories, but Pertwee's missing, and he's replaced by Dickie Davies. I had eaten too much cheese that evening.
Yeah.
So obviously Dickie Davies is triggered in my head by a nice slice of Stilton.
We shall never know whether he would have made a good actor, because he's not known for acting. He's known for presenting.
No, he's not. He's a TV sports presenter.
He would have been like the Brigadier. This is my bad impression of Brigadier. Doctor the Cyber. Well, I might as well bring the Cybermen in, because the Cybermen never came into Doctor Who during John Pertwee. So as we're living in this fictional world...
Oh, yes,
world,
they did.
Well, they did in that thing on the Scope.
Carnival of Monsters. Yeah, they appeared on the Scope.
But in this fictional world where Dickie Davies took over as Doctor Who, then we might as well have the Cybermen as well. So Brigadier comes in, Doctor, the Cybermen are loose, and so the Doctor, played by Dickie Davies,
riding the 4:30 at Cheltenham.
He goes there.
To stop them,
and then he goes up and he starts interviewing them. Cyberman, why is it that you think, and also, how do you think what chances do you think you have in the FA Cup this year? That would probably, the sidemen would just be so confused they'd get back in their spaceship and leave.
They're playing a 4-4-2 configuration.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
That might actually have made me interested in sport, the idea of sidemen playing tennis.
Do you think we wouldn't have had Bessie? We would have had, because at the opening titles, for those who don't know, the opening titles of World of Sport used to be 3 aeroplanes towing mottos behind them that just spelt out World of Sport. Can you imagine that Dickie Davis would arrive in one of the aircraft instead of having Bessie?
I think so.
What sort of motto could he be towing?
Keep your hands off, Cybermen.
Final score.
He would have had a similarity to Pertwee in that he would probably been quite an action man, maybe.
I reckon he could have been an action man. I reckon he, because we were going through the period of men dressing up all in black and delivering boxes of chocolates to sultry women with teeth decay. In milk tray chocolate adverts in shark-infested waters. And I could see him doing that. I could see him in all action. But I could see him dressing as Pertwee. That was the thing. In my dream, he had the frilly shirt and the jacket. And I could see him doing that. And I could see him working with Katie Manning. I think they'd work a treat.
I got another suggestion though, because 1971 is the year that the Master came into Doctor Who. Could Dickie Davis have made a good Master because he had a moustache?
Are you telling me that all we need to play the Master is a moustache?
Well, that's pretty much how it went later on. But
yeah, that's true.
Even if they didn't have a moustache, they had to have a stuck-on one.
I don't know. He's too nice to play the Master. He's too nice.
Kind of like Derek Jacobi. Going back to Derek Jacobi, it all comes together. Derek Jacobi played a very nice character who was the Master, but he'd forgotten that he was the Master, and then he was unleashed and he became evil.
I suppose he could be hiding with his watch, couldn't he? Do you think then he would rig Accrington Stanley to win the FA Cup?
Yeah, I think so.
What would his TARDIS be?
A horse box. Well, that's actually how the Master.
I suppose we could keep the horse box. Yeah, we could keep the horse box.
It's just a shame we didn't have Derek Jacobi for longer as the Master. I think he might have done some Big Finish, but that doesn't quite count. But
I like Derek Jacobi.
I would much rather
as the Master. Yeah,
I would have much rather had him than John Sim. I was not a fan of John Sim Master, but there we go. We can talk about that one day when we talk about 2000 and whatever year that was.
There you go. That was my weird dream.
Well,
Dickie Davis as Doctor Who, or not, as the case may be. But in my world, he gets my vote.
That's good. That's taken up at least 10 minutes of the show, so that's good. It's all material. Have some more dreams. For next time, please.
Yeah, I can't repeat those.
Oh, well, we can do it after show.
And it doesn't have Dickie Davis in them.
Some podcasts would lap that up.
I think somebody was lapping it up at some point. Yes.
So moving on past the colour strike.
So did everyone go around seeing in black and white for a while then?
Yes, everybody, my whole world.
Do you know, as a really, really, and I mean a really lung child, I had lungs, yeah, but as a really young child, because films and old television programmes are in black and white, and this was when I was really young, I was convinced people could only see in black and white till the early 70s. Well, then they could see in colour.
You were probably too young to remember if your whole world went black and white for a few months. But
I remember. I remember 2 or 3 when I was 2 or 3. I think my early memories of TV. I do remember watching some kids programs, things like Andy Pandy was being repeated, and I mean that's 1950s, and they were still showing Muffin the Mule.
That poor mule.
That poor mule. But he's having therapy now.
Yeah. It's probably gone rusty. Talking about February 1971. Between the 6th of February and the 13th of March, BBC Two first broadcast the serial Jude the Obscure, starring Robert Powell in 6 45-minute episodes. That's Thomas Hardy. I'm not a big fan of. I don't think I'd have watched that. But
which Thomas Hardy though?
The one who writes the boring books.
Right. Because I don't know if I've told you before. We have 3 Thomas Hardys from Dorset. One is a pirate.
He sounds more exciting.
He was a really nice guy. He and to keep the government off his back and the revenue men, what he did was he set up 2 schools in the county town of Dorchester, and that's why we have 2 schools called Thomas Hardy School. And then we have Thomas Hardy, who was Nelson's second in command. Kiss Me Hardy.
Oh, the Kiss Me Hardy one.
Yeah, he was from Dorset. There's a monument of him up on a hill, and there's the bloke who reckoned he could write.
Yeah, who I had to do the Mayor of Casterbridge, and I don't think I ever read that book. I think
did you now? What did the Mayor of Casterbridge think of that?
Well, he tried to sell me, but which is for the plot of the book, which is the plot of the book, I think. I
don't remember Billy Piper being any of these.
No. What I was going to say is that I guess this must be one of the first things that Robert Powell did after leaving Doomwatch, because that was 1970, wasn't it? So,
yeah. But, he went for a holiday on the beach. It didn't go right. Winkle down the end of the pier. We've all been there.
I was just going to look and see. Wikipedia only seems to have his films. That's bad. Are they trying to say that he never did anything other than films? Why is there not That's a poor show. I'll have to.
That's what they said.
Yes, he was.
He did loads of TV.
It's just the Wikipedia page only covers his. I'll have to look at IMDb instead. I just wanted to see whether it was literally the first thing he did after Doomwatch, but he hasn't done anything for. Is he still? He's still alive, isn't he?
He's still alive. He used to be in. I think one of the last things he used to be in was Casualty, wasn't it?
Yeah, doesn't seem to have done anything for quite a while. He must be having a proper. Unless he's gone.
He's a lazy git, isn't he? He can earn some money. Can do some more work. Oh no, I've.
So he did 2 Z cars. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
1969, a character called Norris. It doesn't. I don't know what he was.
A TV documentary. His last TV work was in 2020, doing Jazz Sabbath, and he is the narrator.
Maybe that doesn't list because I guess. That's probably in a separate section of IMDb. Perhaps he's been doing documentary type things rather than acting things.
He does a lot of voiceover work. He always used to. No, I've got some mixture of. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Doomwatch. I know he did do something else. He did something else between Doomwatch and Jude the Obscure. He did Sentimental Education, a TV miniseries. He played Frederick Moreau. Anyway,
not aware of that. Oh,
I remember him in Asylum.
Yes, I liked Asylum. Yeah. In fact, turning my head to the left, I'm looking at Asylum now. He was also in Ash Sphinx, wasn't he?
Yes.
Have you ever seen the Ash Sphinx? I quite like the Ash Sphinx.
Yeah, that's how that box, isn't it, with.
It's the spirit, isn't it? It's the spirit of things.
Yeah, I have seen that. Asylum, of course, is a Amicus film.
It's a portmanteau job, isn't it?
We must have talked about that when we did our Amicus episode. Let's go back to 1971. So, in 17th February, BBC Two airs Elizabeth R, a drama series of 6 85-minute plays.
85? Is it that old?
Starring Glenda Jackson in the title role.
I tell you what, I've seen the repeat of that, and I prefer her appearance on Morecambe and Wise. She does singing's much better on that.
Yeah. Gosh, that's a bit heavy. We've got BBC Two. It's not bad enough. It's got Jude the Obscure, but we've got an 85-minute plays of Elizabeth R at the same time. You think
heavy going.
I'm I'm sure Lisa would enjoy the Elizabeth R. Then, I'm sure.
Ooh, have you sat on something? You sat on a tack?
Well, Crompty's leaving bits around the house. It's quite possible.
Do you know what happened on the 1st of February?
1st of February, I don't know.
No, you don't have to buy a radio licence anymore.
Oh. What, in 1971 or now?
In 1971.
Okay.
Now, yeah. Give me the cash, I'll look after it for you.
Okay. Well, on the 25th of February, the animated children's adventure series Mr. Ben airs on BBC.
Yes!
So a preview of that, even though there's far too few episodes. But,
yeah, I've got the 50 Years of Mr. Ben.
So many series in the late 60s and 70s where they just make one series and kind of go, that's enough. I mean, it's kind of like the opposite of things these days where series drag on for years and years and past the point where they're kind of... they've seen better days. I mean, I do like a long-running series, but on the other hand, would it hurt them to do some more Mr. Ben? There's plenty of other things they could have done.
2005 they did some more, didn't they?
I didn't know about that. And things like Randall and Hopkirk and some of those shows, I could have done with another season of Randall and Hopkirk.
The books of Mr. Ben were published in 1967. But yes.
I don't think I even knew that they were books, for that matter. But
no, I didn't know they were books. But how weird.
Mr. Ben.
There is a Festive Road in Putney where it's based. I thought he'd come from Putney. He didn't strike me as a person. I thought he'd go from northwest London rather than Putney, south of the river.
So is it going to list the books? No. The Red Knight. Oh,
he had an annual out in 1972. That's always a good mark of a TV programme.
Oh, apparently the 2005 series was just the one book that they hadn't done. It was Mr. Ben Gladiator. Apparently in 1999...
Is he playing Russell Crowe?
Yeah, probably. Because apparently they had been talking about doing a film... I presume it was a live-action version. I don't think it would be quite as memorable as just a man in a... Just a man.
Just a man.
Just a man doing things. You're like, okay. Very much of its time. Oh, here we go again. We've had this. In March, 29th of March, the US children's educational series Sesame Street begins airing on British television for the first time. It will debut on ITV by first airing on HTV. I thought, it feels like, I feel like every year Sesame Street is doing something, and I really thought we'd covered Sesame Street beginning, but maybe that was it starting in America or starting in somewhere else. Or I mean, that's another one where it always looked like, by the time I watched Sesame Street, we must have been seeing episodes that were from the early 70s, in the late 70s, and everybody looked weird. Everyone looked old, much older than
that was the thing, wasn't it? Yeah, people always dressed old, and Big Bird looked a bit scrawny then, didn't he? Looked a bit odd in the 70s. It's like Bungle in Zippy, isn't he? He looks like some kind of serial killer.
Yeah. 10th of April, the two Ronnies make their debut on BBC One.
Never mind.
Ronnie Parker and Ronnie Corbett. He would go on to become one of the most successful and long-running light entertainment shows on British television.
No, it's because the BBC had nothing to replace it with, so they tortured us.
Ran until 1987.
They did sort of run out of steam a lot, but yeah.
They had their moments, though. I mean, I still think they were better than a lot of the other people that were around at the time.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you.
I know there's this common sort of thing where people want to see the most famous sketches, but I'm always looking for the funny sketch that people don't I like to see the alternative.
No, I'm like you. I'm still waiting for the funny sketch.
Well, I just think there must be funnier sketches than this.
No, they're not. It's a lie.
I'm always looking for something that just out of view, but so far out of view it never existed. But, on the 22nd of May, Westwood Television starts broadcasting in colour from the Redruth transmitter.
Oh. In the middle of Cornwall.
Yeah, and in June, the UK's children's magazine show Blue Peter buries a time capsule in the grounds of BBC Television.
Buries one of their dogs alive.
It was due to be opened on the first episode of the year 2000. I think there's more to that story, isn't there? Didn't they open it up and it was all ruined?
Yeah, some water had got in, hadn't it? And it perished because they had, I can remember them taking out this manky annual. And it was really manky and wet and horrible. The Hard Rock Cafe opened in Hyde Park.
Was it actually in Hyde Park, or was it just down the road?
No, on the corner of Hyde Park. No, it's just down the road, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's Piccadilly, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've been there a few times. I remember that forcing my mother to have a cocktail, and then her all prim and proper going up to the bar and asking for a slow screw against the wall. I left my mother there, who was going red with embarrassment. I found that funny. I must have been, when was that? I must have been about in my mid-20s when I just stitched my mother up with that. Oh, I like the look of that. Well, you go and order it, Mum. Okay.
Yeah, the one I'm sort of remember, it's sort of down more opposite, sort of Hyde Park corner, but more opposite Green Park almost. But it might be that's not where it originally was. But there's something boring about politics. It's a really long paragraph. I don't think I can read it.
Oh, it's the Milk Snatcher, is it?
No, it's something to do with a documentary called Yesterday's Men, a film about Harold Wilson. Something about the 1970 election, them having lost.
You've lost me now.
Yeah.
Got me duvet and pillow out.
No, I think we should move on. It's just a documentary about the previous Prime Minister. On the 19th of June 1971, the first episode of late night chat show Parkinson with host Michael Parkinson is broadcast on BBC One. Were you a fan of Michael Parkinson? He was very well-known, listeners who don't know.
Yeah, he was a bit like a Letterman or a Tonight with whoever that American stalwart interviewer was. I quite. I mean, I didn't really start watching Parkinson until I was about 12ish, because it was on so late, wasn't it? He became quite famous for being an interviewer. Young lad from Barnsley, he was. He did
his show from 71 to 82, but then he came back and did it again from 98 to 2007. But he's what did he do in between? What was he doing in between 82 and?
He was the chairman of Yorkshire Cricket Club.
He did things like Give Us a Clue, even though he
Give Us a Clue. Yeah, no, I think he did a lot of radio, didn't he?
He did that Ghostwatch show.
I do like that Ghostwatch. It's a bit pathé. No, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a bit tame now, but I enjoyed watching that.
I saw him recently on an episode of Neighbours. Well, he wasn't recently made.
What?
He was made in 2007, I think.
What's he doing on Neighbours?
Well, there's lots of weird people appearing on Neighbours, but it was an episode where Carl and Susan had come to England to get remarried, and they bumped into him.
Buffed him.
They bumped into him near St Thomas's Hospital, which meant that they could have the backdrop of House of Parliament. Yeah, Susan didn't get to meet him for some reason. She was paying for her newspaper, and then he bumped into Michael Parkinson, and then by the time Susan emerged, he'd gone. So It was a little scene, but I only saw it because it was one of the episodes they put on as one of the classic episodes. But, so what else happened? We're still only in. I'm in 1972 now. I didn't want to be 1972. Don't put me in 1972. I really muck things up when we're an episode that's half 1971 and half. Yeah, right. No, I'm in the right year again. It would just be typical. We have to come back.
Much as I would like to be younger, I don't want to stay in 1971. But you haven't been born yet, have you?
I've not been born. No.
God, lucky lad.
I didn't have to watch any of these programs like this. In July 1971, nothing happened. You'll be glad to know.
that can't be right. Surely something happened. July 71.
Everyone just froze and didn't move. TV got to, actually. The only thing that happens in August 1971 is that the Pendle Forest transmitter begins transmissions and becomes the first. Oh gosh, I can barely get through the sentence without falling asleep. The first UHF relay service, I don't know what that is, to be operated by the Independent Television Authority.
Ultra high frequency.
Which is probably not high frequency anymore.
No, out of date now. No, there's nothing sort of TV-wise that we're... No.
In September 1971, more is happening. Some of it's rather boring, but we'll try and get through that quick. More transmitter business. The Border Television marks its 10th anniversary and begins broadcasting in colour, but initially only from a particular transmitter. I can't get through that sentence. Then Westwood begins broadcasting in colour, and something about a transmitter, and I'm falling asleep. And
is this September?
This is September, yeah.
Oh, I've got one for September you haven't mentioned yet.
All right. Do you want to tell you?
It's got nothing to do with the transmitter.
Good. Tell me your...
The old grey whistle test.
Oh, yes. That's on...
Was aired for the first time.
On BBC Two.
BBC Two. With Whispering Bob.
Yeah. I have got a best of Old Grey Whistle Test, which I believe came with a T-shirt, which I used to wear, but I think I've outgrown.
Do you know why it's called the Old Grey Whistle Test?
I don't think I do. Please do tell me.
I shall tell you, because originally the show mark of whether a song was good or not was if the old bloke down the road was whistling it, he liked the tune, and that's where it comes from, the Old Grey Whistle Test. So if the old grey bloke down the road who's watched a telly and that listens to the music or whatever, likes the music and whistles it, it's a hit. And that's where it's come from. Literally, that is where it's come from.
I did not know that.
That's Whispering Bob's idea. Well, I've got a neighbour. He's an old bloke. We play some modern... If he listens to the radio, he said, play some modern music. If he doesn't like it, he won't whistle. Whistle to it. When he hears it. So.
It ran from 1971 to 1988. And it was known just as Whistle Test in the 80s, well, in the mid-80s. The other thing that happened in September 1971 is that ITV debuts The Persuaders with Roger Moore and Tony Curtis. Another one of those series that only... Well, along this, because it was ITC, wasn't it? Another one that they just did one season of.
Mind you, I think that would have been expense more than anything else, because they did travel all around the world to do that, didn't they?
Yeah, it's the Protectors that's half hour. Persuaders is an hour episode, well, 50-minute episodes.
Yeah, the Protectors never sort of blew my skirt up.
I have a lot of them on DVD, but...
Skirts?
No. I have a lot of these series on DVD, but haven't got much further through. In fact, I was talking to Martin about... we were doing an episode of Vision on Sound yesterday, and we were sort of... He apologised that he was trying new formats on me, or new formats of episodes, and said that we decided that perhaps what we should do is that I'd watch, because we talked during the episode about how, like, we all have these box sets that sit on the shelf, and then you might watch one episode. And I said, well, what we could do is that I'll choose 3 of my box sets and watch 1 or 2 episodes of each of those series, and then we'll talk. I'll tell them about what I thought of them. But of course, it may not necessarily be good. I might hate them, but I've got a list here of the different, because I think they sold the Persuaders, as you say, around the world under a lot of different titles. So one of the titles is Two Bold Characters. In Argentina, Chile, and Colombia, it was known as Two Bold Characters.
They had plenty of hair.
Yeah,
one of them did.
In Belgium, it was known as the Playboys.
I can get that. Yeah.
In Denmark, it was known as the Hapless Heroes.
I get that as well, actually. Yeah.
In Estonia, it was known as Crooks and Saints. I can't help but think that's something to do with Roger Moore.
Yeah, it's something to do with Roger Moore, isn't it?
And in Finland, it was known as Rascals and Saints.
Rascals, I like that. Yeah. Rascals and Saints. It should be Saints and Sinners, really, shouldn't it?
In France, it was known as Amicably Yours. Amicably.
They never got the joke, did they?
In Germany, it was known as the Two, which sounds really boring. In Greece, it was known as the Rivals. You wouldn't believe what it was called. In Hungary, it was known as 2 spoons in every soup. What? What?
You've got a large ladle.
In Iceland, it was known as Brothers in Arms. It was known as the Persuaders in Iran, Iraq, and Israel. In Italy, it was known as, careful about those 2.
They'll have your eye out.
In Japan, it was known as 2 Dandies, Brilliant Adventures. In Latvia,
I think Curtis would have something to say about that.
Yeah. In Latvia, it was known as the Tricksters. In Lithuania, it was known as the Persuaders, and in Pakistan, it was known as the Persuaders. In Mexico, it was known as 2 Bold Characters again. In Netherlands, it was known as the Seducers. In Norway, it was known as Golden Boys. In Poland, it was known as the Partners. In Romania, it was known as Brett and Danny.
Brett and Danny. Do they walk into the room and then the audience laughs and claps? Yeah. It's like some sitcom.
In Russia, it was known as Extra Class Amateur Detectives.
For God's sake!
In Slovenia, it was known as the Rivals. In Spain, it was known as the Persuaders. In Turkey, it was known as the Relaxed Ones. I'm keeping the best one to last. Well, one of the
brilliant.
Although 2 spoons in every soup, I just don't get that one. In Venezuela, it was known as the 2 Bold Characters. In Yugoslavia, it was known as the Rivals. But finally, in Sweden, it was known as Snobs on the Job.
Well, so they spent the episode of 2 snobs not doing anything and getting their footman to do it for them. Snobs on the job. God, no. Bring me another wench. This one's broken.
What else? Oh, Sesame Street starts on LWT in Grampian on the 25th of September. And Grampian Television marks its 10th anniversary by beginning to broadcast
on time.
On time. On the 2nd of October 1971, the debut of the Generation Game. Ooh. With Bruce Forsyth. Sale of the Century begins, which is a popular American game show. And also on the 10th of October, Upstairs Downstairs debuts, which explains why some of it's in black and white, of course, as you say.
Have you got anything for the 21st of October?
No, nothing.
Oh, Edna, the inebriate woman.
Do tell me.
Have you never seen Edna, the inebriate woman?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, it's played by a very famous actress over here, Patricia Hayes.
Oh yes.
And she's basically a homeless woman. She's 60 years old and she's homeless. And she's got nowhere to live, and she stays at a hostel, and I can remember them taking her clothes off of her and covering her in flea powder and giving her a rub down with a brush under a shower. It's very famous. Yeah, it's a very famous film. She's homeless and alcoholic.
Yes, it's listed later on in another. It was the second episode of the second season of Play for Today.
It was indeed, yes. It comes from the sort of... It's made by the people who make Kathy Come Home. It's a very... Yeah, it's a very sad story. It's a very sad story.
Was Patricia Hayes in Hancock? Or am I getting that wrong?
No, it's the way she was standing. I don't think she was in Hancock.
Oh, yes, she is.
She is?
She was featured in many radio and television comedy shows, including Hancock's Half Hour.
Well, that's right. Yeah, sorry, I take that. Yeah, Arthur Askey Show. Never mind, no one's perfect. Bootsy and Snudge, You and I, Death Till Us Part.
Oh yes, because she was Mrs. Cravat. I thought she was a more than a one-off. But I can't remember whether she's in the movie version. She's in Catweasel.
She's in A Fish Called Wanda.
So on the 10th of November, 2 years before I was born, Princess Anne opens the BBC's new Pebble Mill studios in Birmingham. And also, I'm surprised. I didn't know it started. I kind of thought it started earlier than this. 20th of November, the long-running children's programme Play Away debuts on BBC. Oh no, I think I'm confusing Play Away with Play School. Play Away was the sort of spin-off, wasn't it?
Do you know how Pebble Mill got its name?
I don't think I do.
It was Pebble Mill Road was the name of the road, and some vandals had broken the road sign when they were building the studios, and they still hadn't. They were just going to call it BBC Birmingham. And somebody says, you need to give it a bit more character. And somebody said, well, why don't we just call it Pebble Mill? So I said, well, Pebble Mill, this is Pebble Mill Road. Why don't we call it Pebble Mill? And yeah, the road sign had been smashed by vandals, and all that was left on there was Pebble Mill. And they said, oh, let's call it Pebble Mill then. Because it was going to be BBC Birmingham. And they thought, that's boring. And that's how there you go, that's a really short story. I thought I'd throw it in there.
I can't remember if we ever... I feel like... my friend Kerry and I, being that we were at university together, but we were both interested in on TV, I can't remember whether we ever took Sutton Park to Pebble Mill to say we'd done a bit of Pebble Mill, or whether we ever went there without filming. I just can't remember now.
I was going to say, because Pebble Mill was demolished about 10 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess it would have still been there in 92, 93, 94, but I don't know whether Pebble Mill, the show, had finished by then. I can't remember when it finished. Lunchtime
at Pebble Mill or late night at Pebble Mill. And Pebble Mill. Well, Pebble Mill is known for a TV programme called Juliet Bravo. They filmed that there, didn't they? Because the studios weren't very big. It was more like their foyer, wasn't it? And Doctor Who was filmed there, wasn't it? Because they had Lighthouse job.
Horror Fang Rock.
Horror Fang Rock, yeah.
I definitely seen some...
2004 it was there too.
Because they used, on the Pebble Mill like lunchtime show, they used to have like musical guests, but then they'd probably have them like miming in the grounds. I remember seeing a not very successful Bucks Fizz song. The only video on YouTube of that song is them singing it on an episode of Pebble Mill, running around. It looks pretty cold out there, and lip syncing to the song.
Other priceless programs that were made there was Top Gear, but that was when Top Gear was regional and introduced by
Noel Edmonds.
No. Female presenter, the first presenter of Top Gear, and it was a regional program. Angela Rippon, Angela Rippon.
Did Noel Edmonds do it?
I think he did a little period of it. Yes, Telly Addicts was made in Pebble Mill. Some of the stuff in Howard's Way was made in Pebble Mill. and Gardener's World.
Not much more water around Birmingham.
Around Pebble Mill.
For a programme about water, about a marina.
Someone stole his boat.
Yeah. I was just looking at Playaway. Apparently, it was like the sort of like Play School, but for slightly older children. I remember
crack cocaine for 6-year-olds.
I do actually remember. It's one of the few kids programs. I don't actually have any memories of anything exactly happening, but I do remember. I think I quite liked it because I think Brian Cant was very watchable, and I liked Chloe Ashcroft. And
yeah,
it's rare that I have fond memories of any kids programs. So, some like Mr. Ben and Wombles and Paddington, but those sorts of more edge. I don't think things like Blue Peter. It had to be the right moment, and things like Newsround. I was like, I don't want to watch news. For goodness sake. There are a lot of out of 191 editions of Playaway, 132 no longer exist, and some episodes having been wiped in the early 90s.
Why sacrilege? Thought they'd know by then, wouldn't you? So we had people like Brian Cant, Tony Arthur, Derek Griffiths, Lionel Morton, Chloe Ashcroft, Floella Benjamin, who is now in the House of Lords, Johnny Ball. Oh, happy days.
No, I've got two more things, and then we'll quickly whisk through some of the debuts of 1971, but I need to pin you down before we go about.
Oh, please do pin me down.
I've got to see. We've got to see whether you've, having been in my presence for the last hour or so, we need to see whether you've got any predictions for the future of the Shy Life podcast. But so December the 24th. 1971, BBC One airs M.R. James's The Stalls of Barchester, the first of several made-for-television short films based on M.R. James' short stories. Of course, they sort of became part of a series called A Ghost Story for Christmas, and they ran until 1978. And of course, Mark Gatiss has sort of picked up and done some more M.R. James ones more recent, like in the last 10 years or so. I have most of those on. Well, I have all of those 70s ones on. They're known for the M.R. James stories. One of the most famous is the Charles Dickens story, The Signalman.
The Signalman, yeah, The Signalman. That's sort of the go-to one, or the one with Michael Hordern in Whistle and I'll Come, made in black and white.
The remake of that is not as good, even though it's got John Hurt in it. He's very good, but it's not. And I can understand why they remake it, because yes, it's nice to have a colour version, having got the black and white one. But what they do is, rather than totally remake it, whoever adapted it feels they have to put subplots in that didn't exist in the original about an old people's home, and it doesn't bring anything to it whatsoever. And no, it's a shame because it has got a good. I mean, it's not a big cast, but it has got, John Hurt. But some of the funny thing is, there's two weird ones at the end. Yeah, because the first 5 are M.R. James ones, and then it's Charles Dickens one is the 6th one. The 7th one is a weird one about a stone circle, and it's sort of more supernatural. And that's quite strange. And then the last one, The Ice House, is also...
Oh, yes, I remember The Ice House. Yeah.
The Ice House is... I kind of intrigued by it, because the acting is very strange in it. And people can go, have you seen anybody at The Ice House? and I keep meaning to rewatch it again, because it's kind of became... When I first watched it, we sort of ended up parodying it quite a lot around the house, as if we were looking at the camera and going... he was last seen at the Ice House. It's about a strange flower that's growing growing in an old ice house in the grounds of a health spa, and there's a series of strange things happen. And yes, I really must watch it again. They are really good, because they're there's not a lot that's graphic or gory, but then there's always something that's kind of like, ooh.
It's all psychological.
Yeah.
They're the best ghost stories are sometimes.
Yeah, or you just get a flash of something, or
flash of something you shouldn't see.
Yeah. Oh dear, this is not a great way to end. This is the Boxing Day fair on 26th of December 1971. BBC Two airs its first terrestrial television showing of Victor Fleming's 1948 American epic film version of Joan of Arc, starring Ingrid Bergman, Jose Ferrero, Leif Erikson, John Ireland and Ward Bond. I mean, I'm sure it's a classic film, but really, it was hardly the most cutting edge. But so that's what
the golden age of television.
It's about 23 years old, and is it really? It's hardly Morecambe and Wise, is it?
It's hardly the annual Bond film, is it? No. Christmas, New Year.
There must have been a Morecambe and Wise episode in 1971. I would have thought.
I'm not. Yeah, Christmas one there would have been. Yeah. That's just. I'll have a look for that. But yeah, there should be a Christmas Morecambe and Wise.
I suppose that's not mentioned. I have sort of dabbled into. I'm just typing.
Yeah, 71 Morecambe and Wise Christmas show.
Is that one of the famous?
That was
ones?
broadcast. That was broadcast in 1971.
Oh, wow.
It is available on DVD.
I have it because I bought a set. I bought a set of. There was a particular. I may have mentioned it before. There was a particular sketch I wanted to see, and I tracked it down.
Oh, it's got Andre Preview on it.
Oh,
yes.
Is that all the right notes in the wrong order, or is that? I think it's maybe 1972, maybe where I was looking for this sketch with Jack Jones in, and I eventually tracked it down to one of the Christmas specials, and it was one of the ones that's not considered quite as classic because it wasn't written by the sort of famous writing team of the time. Or they had a year off or whatever.
Oh, Eddie Brain, you mean? Eddie Brain, yeah.
And I found I tracked it down, and there's a box set of all the Christmas specials, or BBC Christmas specials, about a fiver, about a three disc set.
Wow!
So kind of like,
grab that.
Okay, yeah, I'll get that. Before we leave 1971, I shall just have a look and tell you some of the other things that made their debut in 1971. On BBC One, we have things like Last of the Mohicans. Is that
Oh yes, that's a TV series, and that stars Philip Maddock. Yeah. It is available on YouTube. I've been watching some episodes. It's rather good.
Dave Allen at Large.
Yep, got Dave Allen. I like Dave Allen. I went to see him live once. Really enjoyed that.
And That's Your Funeral. It's a sitcom. It's never heard of it. It's Bill Fraser.
There was
urban legends about the funeral industry.
Right, because they did a film about Bill Fraser, and I can't remember who the other thing. And I think
it was made by Hammer Films.
Yes, and that was called It's Your Funeral. It's a comedy. Yeah.
What else we've got? Well, the Mary Tyler Moore Show begins to be shown. Some of those series, I wasn't even sure whether they'd come across. It's difficult because I guess it was shown during the time, but it certainly wasn't being repeated. A lot of the stuff I discovered was stuff that was still being repeated in the 80s that was old, like The Avengers or Hancock. But Mary Tyler Moore, when I came to watch Mary Tyler Moore, I found it quite difficult to find out whether some of these shows had even been ever shown on the BBC, or whether they were just briefly. But we've got Sykes and the Big Show. That's Eric Sykes and Hattie Jake's sketch comedy show. How many episodes? About 6 episodes. Moving up. Alas Smith and Jones. Oh no, sorry, Alias
Smith and Jones. The two cowboys.
I do remember
one of my mum's favourites.
That must have still been repeated because that only ran from 71.
Channel 4 showed it.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
pretty much feel like
and they started up because I remember sitting watching that with Mum. I thought, I liked this when it was first on. She didn't use that voice, obviously.
There's a television comedy show called Ryan and Ronnie, which was originally broadcast
about the two Cray brothers. No, that's a laugh a minute. That was.
It was originally broadcast in Welsh. Perhaps we don't remember it too well.
It was lost in translation.
Oh, what about? You must know about this one. Barlow at Large.
Barlow is Large. Yes.
Stratford John spin-off of Z Cars.
I thought Barlow at Large came after Softly Softly Task Force.
Yeah. Well.
No, that was Barlow. That was Barlow. It could be Barlow is Large. Could be Barlow is Large.
It says Barlow at Large, and then it became Barlow, and it's kind of considering it all under one. Does this count as when they did the Jack the Ripper stuff? And something else altogether again. That's something else.
Second Verdict, isn't it?
There weren't that many. There were four series, 29 episodes. The first season was only 3 episodes. Then they didn't do any till 73. Then that was 10 episodes, 8 episodes in 74, and 8 episodes in 75. Partridge Family started being shown. ONMD, the Aneden Line. Now Look Here. What's that? A situation comedy with Barry Cryer and Graham Chapman.
Heard of it.
Tom Brown School Days. The Snow Goose.
He's been goosed.
What else we've got? Trial, Sense and Sensibility, Sunset Song, all on BBC Two. ITV, got Bless This House starts, Doctor at Large, Slapstick and Old Lace. What on earth?
That sounds a bit kinky. Is that on late night?
It was Charlie Drake, a sketch show.
Never mind.
It was the follow-up. The follow-up.
Oh dear.
It's got Budgie starts. A Mother Makes 3.
Oh, Mother Makes 3. That was Wendy Craig before she did Nanny.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Nanny?
I'm sort of aware of it. I think it's on my wish list. And of course there's Butterflies as well. I kind of wanted to watch Nanny, but
I wanted to watch. I'm in an hour and about buying Butterflies because I it was good when I remember it, but I don't want it to lose its charm.
We've also got The Comedians, which I'm sure wouldn't be watchable these days.
No. Yeah.
It's very sort of working men's club comedians. We've got The Odd Couple, which obviously isn't a UK show, but started being shown. Well, of course, neither is Mary Tyler Moore. Some of these shows aren't necessarily home produced, but Follyfoot.
Follyfoot, yeah.
I don't think I ever saw, but I sort of know the name.
Girl with a horse, isn't it?
Yeah. Rivals of Sherlock Holmes.
Rivals of Sherlock Holmes. Fruity, as Lisa would say.
I've never. Again, it's probably in my wish list, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
Like all things, adaptations, they're some are good and some are better than good. So they're good fun.
We've got Keep It in the Family.
Oh yes, is it 71? Good Lord, that used to be on a lot before the news.
They only made 6 episodes. They managed to stretch that out. It says, what is it? Wipe. Although wiping was common amongst. There's a lot of TV shows were wiped during this period, but somehow this one escaped it. But
well, there's another one of my favourite cheesy TV programmes that was first aired in 15th of September 71. Jason King.
Yes. I guess I see that. Yeah, I've got that on DVD. Although I was talking about that with Martin. The picture quality isn't that.
Yeah, so was I when we were talking about cheesy TV programmes. I said you can't get more cheesier than that.
Yeah. We've also got the Marty Feldman Comedy Machine. we've got Tottering Towers. It's a British comedy television series. Never heard of that. And this one, Lollipop Loves Mr. Mole. That's a sitcom. Oh. That's a Jimmy Perry sitcom. 2 seasons.
So I've never seen.
Oh, it's Peggy Mount. The Peggy Mount Calamity Hour. People probably mention that.
Peggy Mount.
The domineering Maggie Robinson, Peggy Mount, who plays Lollipop, and her timid husband Reg, aka Mr. Mole, played by Hugh Lloyd, are a comically mismatched couple living in Fulham. They married late in life, Lollipop having had aged parents to look after, and Mr. Mole having waited for Miss Right. The domestic bliss is interrupted by the arrival of Reggie's brother, the brash, work-shy Bruce, and his hypochondriac wife, Violet, played by Pat Coombs.
Pat Coombs, who plays the only she only plays one character throughout her whole entire acting career.
The comedy revolves partly around Reg and Maggie's attempts to get Bruce employed. Another feature is Reg's sinus trouble. Oh, that sounds like comedy gold. It's got some good special guests though. Gordon Jackson, Michael Bates, Bill Pertwee, but the producers were David Askey and later Sean O'Riordan. Didn't he do Sapphire and Steel?
Sapphire and Steel, yes. Oh, and for our international viewers, this was the year that David Tennant was born. Young upstart. What's he do nowadays?
I don't know. There's only two surviving episodes, and they both, although it was all made in colour, they don't. The ones that survive are only in black and white. But well, still, we didn't even knew it. We'd never even heard of it. So, Sue Nichols is in an episode. John Savardand. I think that's pretty much it. Now, a few shows returned apparently after a break, but we won't talk about them. I'm more interested in. Actually, let's just see series that ended. Well, All Gas and Gators ended in 1971. Never mind the quality, feel the width. The Mind of Mr. J.G. Reader.
Very good series.
Yeah.
Alas, a lot of that only exists in B&W.
The Lovers, Time Slip and UFO.
Gosh, The Lovers. That was Beckinsale, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I've got a DVD of that, but I haven't actually watched it. But I shall have to do that for Martin's show, as I promised. Right. Well, we'll choose another year next time. But
okay.
Are you? I think what we'll do is we'll play a bit of music, and when we come back, listeners, we'll have one all set up to predict the future. That's if it works. It may eating a fortune cookie whole might not cause. I
didn't touch its hole.
Let's play some music. So, listeners, we've set the scene. The lights are dimmed, and
I can't see. It's dark in here.
I'll turn it up a bit.
Oh, mind your beard. I haven't got a beard.
At least Cromitty seems to have stopped banging, but maybe he'll come up and say goodbye before you leave. But
been very active.
Yeah. It wasn't as noisy as I thought he'd be. Just before we started recording, everything was going off. But
let me give me Sphericals a bit of a buff.
Okay.
And I'll be all ready for you.
Okay, let me know when you're ready.
Yep, there. I can see the light of day through my Sphericals.
Good. Okay. So, Warren, what do you see?
Balls, dear, balls. Sorry, just explaining to the cleaner who's looking at me through the window. I don't let her in the house. She cleans the outside.
That's fine. That's all you need. It's the outside view that most people see. But,
no, shovel it, love. Shovel it. Don't push it.
Yes.
Can't get the cleaners. Carry on.
Can you look into your ball? Can you tell me something about the Shy Life podcast, the future of the Shy Life podcast? What's going to happen?
I'm going to caress it.
Okay.
I want to caress it.
Okay.
I want to.
Ooh. What can you see?
Oh, sorry. What can I see? I can see another. On the distant horizon, I can see people marching towards us.
People marching towards us,
all from different locations. They're joining hands together and talking. I think yes, I can see faces. God, they're a bleeding ugly lot, aren't they? It must be a chatterbox. There must be a chatterbox coming because they're really ugly lot.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what. I mean, we kind of do this every 4 months. I'm not quite sure whether that's just you hedging your bets there. Try another one. Try something more specific. Try something more specific.
I'm going for an individual.
Yeah, go on.
I'm getting belligerent. I'm getting argumentative. Smells of boiled cabbage. Can only be Yeti Uncle John.
Well, what's he done this time?
Oh my word! You're not going to believe this. I can see him with oh my word, quill, ink, and parchment.
Oh, he's not writing again, is he?
He's writing a play. He's being a playwright.
Oh dear! I mean, he tried to write an autobiography once, and I had to kind of have it impounded because it was just fabrication.
I think it's him. He's wearing tights and a ruff. That's all.
He tends to wear that sort of thing when he's hanging around the house.
Oh, something else is happening to him. He's not happy with it.
What?
He is not happy.
What?
Oh no, I'm a bit worried about Yeti Uncle John. No, he's sporting a wound.
Oh, what's happened?
He's oh my word, he's been bitten by a snail.
A snail? A snail, yes. You say?
A snail, I say. A snail, you say? A snail, I say.
I didn't even know that snails... Well, I think I did know that snails had teeth, but not teeth that could actually bite. Goodness.
What do teeth do, then, if they don't bite?
Well, I know, but not like...
Do they do a dance hall routine?
Well, yes, but snails eat lettuce. They don't eat Yeti Uncle John's. They're not supposed to, anyway. But what else? Well, I mean...
Let's go deeper. I'm going deeper into my Sphericals.
Yeah.
Oh, Patina, yes, Patina. Oh,
what about her? What about?
Patina? Sorry. Patina is going to be reunited with a former lover.
Oh well, that makes sense because she was reunited with her former lover Max last year, and we were wondering whether he might show up. We were wondering whether he. Well, they weren't reunited in a romantic way. They were reunited. In a way where he turned out to be a vampire and he helped, but a vampire who vanquishes nasty vampires. We haven't heard from him for a while, so we did wonder what was going on with him. So, that's positive. Anything else?
Well, my friends, I have one last prediction, my friends.
Okay.
And it's from a galaxy far, far away.
Oh, all right. What's going on?
I see a great return.
Oh.
A huge gathering on the mount.
God, Toppy coming back on the show?
No, even more unbelievable. Ick from another dimension.
Oh, well, that's a relief. He's been gone for ages, but we didn't like to go and rescue him because it's frightening, going into the other dimensions and things. And I haven't got the legs for it these days.
Well, he's definitely got the legs for it, from what I can see.
Oh, well, it's a relief. And he comes back intact. presumably, hopefully.
Virginal intacte is what I can see in my... Yes.
Good.
It's all attached.
Oh, well,
everything's attached to it.
Good.
So yes, he's coming back in one piece.
Well, let's just hope that some of your predictions actually come to pass.
That was exhaustive.
It proves
that was exhaustive.
It proves that swallowing.
Have a wine gun now.
It proves that
very noisy one.
It proves that swallowing a fortune cookie whole can lead to.
I did not eat its whole.
No. Oh, anyway. I think we've run out of time, so listeners, we're going to have to say thank you to Uncle Warren for talking to us about TV and for predicting the future episodes of the Shy Life podcast. And
there will be many more. I can see many more.
Oh, good. And I hope you'll come back and join us again soon.
I will do. It's been an absolute pleasure, listener. And it's been a pleasure. I'll be round to service your audio equipment.
Well, we'll say goodbye, but if you hang on, for another 5 minutes or so, I'll make sure that Comedy comes and says hello before you go. But all right, listeners, goodbye for now, and we'll be back again in about 30 seconds' time. All right, bye for now, briefly. Okay, bye. Goodbye. Bye. It's so good to see you.
Cromarty, high five. How you doing there?
I'm doing okay. I high five. Ow.
Oh
that
dear.
Me. I'm sorry I was banging around when you were busy earlier. I hope I did
you were
not
very
make too much
active,
noise.
weren't you?
Well, I didn't realise.
No, you're very...
Oh, you're actually a lot quieter than I thought you were going to be. The alarms were going off before we started recording, but I think it only went off once. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. What were you talking about? Well, we were talking about the TV of 1971, but we also, because Warren has been eating fortune cookies. Oh, fortune cookies. Oh, yes, they're a power to be taken notice of. We've had our own experience, haven't we, Paul? Yes, a fortune cookie, or I don't know if you know, a fortune cookie predicted a big change in Cromarty's love life, and also Uncle John had some. So yes, we're big believers in what is written on a fortune cookie is going to come true, absolutely 100%. But my last fortune cookie sort of predicted that my life wouldn't be very boring and there'd be another adventure along. And doing the Shy Life podcast, that's pretty much true. That pretty much is what happens.
I am just opening another fortune cookie.
Oh yes,
and it says you will have an unfortunate accident outside a gentleman's outfitters.
Who's that going to happen to?
I don't know. It's
not Mostros. Not sure.
It could happen to me.
I feel like
I don't know where that's come from.
I feel like there's sort of deja vu there. I feel like this has happened before.
Oh no, not a French food person.
Maybe that's why there's an unfortunate accident outside of Mostros because of the French food.
Ooh la la! Yeah. Say boom, say boom.
And Cromarty. It's Uncle John's coming up the path. I can hear the theme music coming.
Quick, turn the lights off and pretend we're not in.
I think we're going to have a quick word with him. But we've got some more music to play. We'll be back in a moment.
I gotta go now. Bye.
I want to go with you.
Gotta go. Bye.
Goodbye.
It's been good, but yeah, definitely time to come home now.
Wow. Really? No kidding.
Goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye.
This show is part of the Pride 48 network. Find more shows over at pride48.com.
Oh dear. What's going on now?
Oh, it's the Shy Life Podcast. Let's go.
I have a voice.
I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice.
We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UnivazPods.net.
That is so cringe, oh my god.
You're a man of culture as well.
Uncle Warren, it's good to see you.
Yeti Uncle John, give me your wallet.
I didn't know you were coming today. I've been driving around. I've been working. I had to take a lady with no handbag to a shop to buy a handbag, and then she was able to pay me. I don't know how that worked because she didn't have any money, and then she went anyway. I have a feeling I've been involved in a crime or something and not even realised it. But
oh no, Yeti Uncle John! Last time I heard, you were working for the NHS and taking samples round.
I also had a bus that said that
a bus. A bus. Sorry.
I had a bus. I was trying to renovate it, and it was one of them buses that they were put lies on about how they were going to give lots of money to people, and it's all very political. Yes, Uncle John. Warren has been looking to the future. Oh yes, with some fortune cookie sort of special powers. Oh yes, the powers of the fortune cookie. Yes. What have you predicted? Well, he predicted another episode of Chatterbox, which I think I'm not sure if that counts. Oh yes, right.
Come on, that was my warm up.
Oh yeah, that's fine. He predicted something to do with the possible return of Max Duprey. Oh yes. The hopeful return of Ike. Oh, that would be wonderful. Yes, he also predicted that you're not writing anything, are you? Well, how does he know about that? I can't say. No, I can't possibly comment.
What's that thesaurus under your arm?
Oh no, it's a diplodocus. It's not a thesaurus. Anything else? Well, apparently you have to be careful around snails. Oh no, I don't eat French food. A bit like Warren. Oh well.
I think the snail encounter is going to be very interesting.
Well, I'll have to see. Oh dear, it's all been very busy, and I was downstairs bagging at the time. I missed it all, didn't I? Yes, you did. You did it. Too busy banging to come and join us. Oh dear.
Bangs all evening, he bangs all night. He's a right banger, isn't he?
It's the story of my life. Oh well, we have to go. Oh, you what? We've got to go. Yes, we've got to go. Oh dear, how disappointing. Oh well, there'll be another episode along soon, I'm sure. If not several. Yes, there will be several. Oh well, I hope I'm on one of them.
Are you scribbling yet, Uncle John? What are you scribbling on your cuffs?
I'll just signing a blank cheque. Anyway, I can't speak about it. Oh dear.
You know what I'd really like to do is get some of that hair off and then knit a sweater. A Yeti hair sweater. Do you think he'd mind? I don't know.
Yeesh, I hope that Shy Yeti bathes today. That's all I can say.
You know, when I listen to the Shy Life podcast, it makes me want to build fires all day long. I don't know why.
666.
He's not all that shy is right. Sheesh. Now that one was funny.
Mics, mixers, action. Mark your calendars because this September 15th to 17th, Pride 48 is the place to be. Join us for our grand finale and final annual live streaming podcasting event. Experience the vibrant colors of our community with an entire weekend of LGBTQ and LGBTQ-friendly podcasts from our stable of current shows, some that you haven't heard in many years, and even a few brand new ones. It all kicks off at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, September 15th. More information can be found at our website, pride48.com.
Et voilà.